Welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss. Midnight Menu Plus One is a food lifestyle show on the podcast network, It's NewOrleans.com. Brought to us tonight by Petite Pet Care. While you're at work or on vacation, you don't have to board your pet. He can stay in the comfort of his own home. For loving care when you're not there, Petite Pet Care. Find them at petitepetcare.com.
Now, each week on Midnight Menu Plus One, Margot and I invite a member of New Orleans restaurant and food community to join us for conversation, and we invite them to bring along their own guest, a plus one. We never know who the plus one is going to be. Sometimes it's a friend, a neighbor, a family member, a fellow restaurant colleague. Well, tonight we're at the Tap Room. NOLA Brewing's Tap Room is NOLA Brewing's on-site watering hole located in the Irish Channel. The Tap Room serves NOLA's regular lineup of craft beers as well as 8 specialty brews you can't get anywhere else. Open weekdays from 2 to 11 p.m. and weekends from 11 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Now, our special guest tonight on Midnight Menu Plus One is Chef Jean Pierre Guidry. That's a fun name to say. Executive sous chef of Trenasse. Cannot wait to talk to him and his mystery guest in just a moment. But before we have Chef Guidry join us, Margot, I just wanted to mention one notable food experience of the week.
Okay.
One among many. My first time in New Orleans, my first weekend here, was over 9.5 years ago, and it was the week before Katrina. And for lunch after church, I went to Martin's Wine Cellar, the one on Baronne. You know, they have the one on Magazine Street, and there's another one out in the burbs somewhere. But on Baronne, there's the flagship one, right? And I had a great experience there. It's a nice deli. It was just magical for a lot of reasons, maybe, but the food was really great too. And of course, then the storm came a week later, and we moved here a couple months after that, and never saw Martin's Wine Cellar. It's been closed ever since until a few weeks ago, and went back again after church on same church last Sunday. And with some friends, and it was fantastic. And we had the variety was terrific, all kinds of great sandwiches and salads, and I stared at all this great wine, and I'm trying to lose a pound or two before I squeeze into my gold lame jumpsuit for Mardi Gras. So I didn't get any wine, but I'll be back in a few weeks to get a bunch more. But are you a Martin Wine Cellar fan? You must have grew up with it, right?
Yes, and I'm really thrilled that they are back up and running, and I have not been, but I heard the space is nice too. A lot of natural light, and
it's beautiful, and it's a lot bigger than I remember it being before. I think it's much larger than it was. There had to be 20 tables at least for seating, and then the wine area was massive. I mean, it's probably 4 times as big as the other place on Magazine, just the wine part. So, and liquor too. It was awesome. Great,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it was really. You have anything worth mentioning this week?
Well, I got a snack today. And it was noteworthy. I stopped at the District.
District Donuts, the one, the new one, or the
District Pan Pie and Coffee on Magazine Street.
Right here. Yeah, I love that place.
And I had the. It was called the Beef Wellington, but it was like shredded beef with maybe prosciutto wrapped around it.
Oh, wow.
And then a piece of foie gras on top.
Come on. Wow.
of the pie, and it was very good.
There's nobody else that has that in the world in a pie. That's it. Just there.
Well, yeah, I've never not had that like that before, so It was delicious.
That's cool. That place is what, about maybe 100 square feet?
Yeah.
You know who the landlord is our guest last week. It was Scott Wolf is the landlord for that place.
And the folks from District Donut. And, well, it's cute.
And we've had them on our show before.
They had benches mounted to the outside of the building.
Yeah. Like
little one-person, one-seat benches.
Yeah, what are those? Those are vintage from something. They're like weird old metal. I don't know what those things are. Are they from like a carnival or...
I don't know.
They're like seats. I swear they're like from a ride or something. They're kind of cool.
It looks
looking.
These look handmade to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are, but they're wooden, handmade little benches.
Yeah, those things are cool. Yeah, I love it. A great spot.
All right. Well, I'm excited to get talking to Chef Jean Pierre. So
welcome. Good to have you here.
How y'all doing?
Yeah, good to see you again.
Now, before I get into all your history, I want to know will you tell us the name of the restaurant where you currently reside and where the name comes from?
Well, it's Restaurant Trenasse, and the name comes from it is cut cut in the marsh, so a Cajun canal. So it's lead to the honey hole in the swamp.
All right.
Yeah.
So when you say cut, it's because it's drier there. You can walk
No,
on
they're
it.
man-made cuts.
It's
a ditch that's man-made. That
What's
they
a
take,
ditch? Okay.
They take mud boats and they go through and just keep passing through until you make a passage through the main bayous in the swamp, and it's just small enough to get a mud boat or a pirogue machine through. Yeah, and that would be a motorized mud boat.
Now, was that your idea? I know you were in the starting team at the restaurant, right?
I came on when the restaurant was being finalized.
Okay. So the name was already there.
Yeah, the name was already there, and it actually drew me to joining the team. That's for sure.
Because you're as Cajun as they get, right?
I am. Yes. Yes.
100%.
Tell us about where you grew up and.
I grew up on Bayou Lafourche in Galliano, Louisiana. Very special place. We lived off the land, seafood. I mean, the stories that most people talk about Cajun people, I mean, I am that. I mean, whenever I got babysit, I was put on a feed skiff and sent out 20 minutes into the marsh where people lived. And that's true stories. People talk about that as jokes, but it's real.
Wait, say that again. What happened? You were babysat.
Yeah, when the people who babysat me, they picked me up at a boat launch and on a feed skiff, which you typically would shrimp on.
Okay.
And they would take me back to their home where they lived. And
So instead of driving in a car to the babysitter's place, you went across the marsh.
These were they were Cajun Indian folk from back home, and my dad actually had the kids couldn't go to school, so my dad was the president of the school board, so he lined up buses that would pick them up at the boat launch, and that's how we met these people, and they became my nannies, if you will.
Wait, so they'd have to take a boat to the boat launch to get on the bus to go to school?
Yeah.
Because their house was inaccessible except by boat.
Correct.
Were they on an island or something, or they were just...
No, they were in Bayou Falala,
Okay.
which is behind Golden Meadow.
That sounds made up, Bayou Falala. That's amazing.
It is very true.
Real place.
I'm living proof of it.
Wow.
And when you say Cajun Indians, tell us a little bit about
just
this.
some
Like
Cajun Indians, I don't know exactly. I mean, Indian heritage and Cajun heritage. I mean, blend.
okay.
Yeah.
How old were you when they babysat you?
Probably 7, 8 years old. I mean, they babysat us at the house, but when my parents would go out of town, I'm the baby sick, so sometimes I just couldn't make those trips, so they dropped me off at the boat launch.
And did they ever cook for you? I mean,
Did they cook? Yeah. I mean,
you remember?
do I remember that? It was a very young age, but no. But I mean, these people were very special. I mean, they added a lot to our heritage and where I'm from, and something not spoke of too much. But it's very unique. I remember my mama telling me because I traveled all around the country and the world, and she always told me, you'll be special anywhere you are because of where you're from and what you've experienced, and that was definitely true.
Now, were your parents French speaking, or
My father's father only spoke French.
only spoke French? So
Yeah.
your father's father had been in Louisiana probably 150, 200 years, whatever it had been, his family had been, and didn't speak any English.
Not a lick.
Not a lick.
And then but my father only spoke French, but it goes back to they killed the French language in school because
right.
So they demanded that he
State
spoke English.
legislature made you speak English, right, in schools.
So that died and didn't pass down through me, which is quite unfortunate because when your name's Jean Pierre and you work for Daniel Boulud and they try to speak to you in French and you can't, you're like, but yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So what did the people that you went to school with end up doing? What are most of them doing these days? Are most of them chefs in New Orleans, or are they doing other things?
The people that I grew up with down the bay?
Yeah. Like the ones you went to
They
school
have
with.
some chefs. I mean, it's mostly oil field workers,
Right.
some family businesses.
Some fishermen, too, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I was growing up, I actually almost become a crabber, and I almost bought 250 traps and a Lafayette skiff and did it that way when I was 18 years old.
Wow. So
what inspired you to not do that and leave Galliano?
Well, my first cooking position was at a fast food joint, Mr. Cook. That was my first job, so I've been cooking since then. And then I went to college and took on a job at a place called Cock of the Walk, and they served grilled catfish and cornbread and all this stuff, and it was really good. And I wanted to go to a concert in Athens, Georgia, Widespread Panic, and and they were like, you can't get off, and I was like, well, I quit. So I quit and went to the concert, and then after that, months later, they just kept calling me to go back to work. So I was like, well, maybe you're good at this, you know. So I mean, where I grew up, all you did was cook. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody, like, I'm scrutinized by everybody down there because they think they're a chef. Everybody's a chef. You know,
there's nowhere in the country that's as food centered as Cajun country, right? Don't you think?
I think that everyone cooks and cooks so well, you know, that would be accurate.
There's nobody indifferent to food there. You never met anybody growing up that was totally indifferent to food and didn't have opinions about food.
No, I mean, that's
didn't
what we
spend a lot of
did. I
time
mean,
cooking
that's all we
and-
did when we hung out. We had a bonfire and we cooked and we barbecued and we boiled crawfish and we had boucheries and, you know, I mean, we did, I mean, it was part of life. It's who I am.
So they kept calling you, and you were like, maybe I got something that sets me a little apart. And then what was your next step?
My next step, I moved back home to Louisiana, and I had a friend who just graduated LSU, and he was like, man, I'm ready to move. And I was like, I am too. And so we moved to Denver, Colorado, and I started cooking at the Adams Mark Hotel. And he was my first mentor as a chef. He's the one who got me into CIA. And I stayed with him for a year. That's when I got accepted into CIA, and I moved there, and that's where it all started.
Yeah, we should let our listeners aren't familiar. That's not the spy agency. It's the Culinary Institute of America.
You know, that's a very funny story because whenever I called my best friend, and his wife was like, well, are you going to be able to tell us anything? You know, I was like, I can show you how to make a beurre blanc.
And your mentor, he was supportive of you going to the Culinary Institute? I mean,
He told me I had to.
Now you went to the one in New York, right? The flagship.
Yes,
I think they got some branches around or whatever.
I went to the main hub, but now they have one in Austin, and they have it in Greystone in California. But that's like continued education where you could go for a specific cuisine and get work. I mean, the one in Hyde Park and the one in Austin are more. It's full curriculum.
Right. So how long was the program?
21 months.
21 months. Okay. And it's intense, right?
It's intense, but the real luxuries you get out of that is, you know, my getting into Restaurant Daniel. I mean, because Daniel, this was in 2001, so this is when Daniel only had DB Bistro, Cafe Boulud, and Restaurant Daniel, which was where I was at. So Daniel was in the building every day. When I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning, we would sit down and talk, which is monumental for any cook's career, you know what I mean? Because he's definitely one of the icons.
Yeah, that's like a 3-star Michelin restaurant.
Yeah,
right?
and when I was there, he was there every day. Now he has restaurants in Singapore, Vancouver, Miami, Hong Kong, you know, so he's spread out. But when I was there, he was there every morning. So it was pretty special to me in my career.
So what can you remember some of the things that he shared with you besides the experience? I mean, are there things that stand out that he...
Some things that he always talked to me about philosophies of France as according to America. I can remember one thing he's like always talked about, like a raw onion on a hamburger. He said that was just not sophisticated and stuff like that. It was like just his thoughts on American culinary world and France, because they're purists. They live off the land. They, you know, it's just different. But we had talks like that. But I mean, he's a very intense man, and he was there, and a lot of stuff. And I moved to New York whenever less than a month after September 11th. So
oh wow, yeah,
it was a pretty special time in New York.
Wow, yeah. So how'd you get his attention? Like why was he giving you sort of specific attention? What was it about you?
He didn't give it to me. I took it. I would go sit in his office and ask for help because I was a canapé chef, so I had to come up with 7 different amuse-bouche every day, which is very challenging for a cook who's been cooking for 3 years. And I was trying so hard. But I mean, I think still today, if I had to go do that, you know, every day I have 7 different microscopic, you know, tastes that have to blow people's mind. Because I can remember when Jean Pierre, what do you have that will blow me away? He would say. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Did you realize that you had so much creativity? I mean, did you surprise yourself of what you could?
No, I questioned it more than surprised myself. Yeah, I mean, I worked 6 days a week, and I would go to bed maybe on a Saturday night at 3:30 in the morning, and I would wake up on Sunday at 7 p.m. You could hear the cars passing, and that was your day off, and then I'd start reading again.
Huh.
That's pretty much what it was.
Huh. So it sounds like you're pretty confident, though, huh? I mean, you just really where'd that come from? Your ability to just be gutsy like this in a place. I mean, you must have felt like a little bit of a fish out of water, so to speak, in New York, right? You didn't grow up in a place much like that, and then to be so gutsy with a world-class guy like that, where'd that come from? What do you think?
My confidence?
Yeah. Where do you think that came from?
I don't know if it was
Were you always that way? Or?
At that time, it wasn't confidence. It was the will and how much I cared and who I wanted to be.
Right.
I think.
So it's more drive towards your goal than confidence in who you were.
Very resilient because
Yeah.
I failed a lot there, but was never going to quit. And I think they saw that and appreciated that. They wanted me to go back and work there, but it was really, really trying at that time in New York. After that, I mean, my birthday's on October 4th, and that's when I started there.
Right. 3 weeks after.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was really, really, it was really scary there at that time.
Yeah, I was living in a suburb 45 minutes from there at the time, and we had all our friends working in the city, and it was just terrifying. I remember that day. It was just unbelievable.
I'll never forget that day.
Yeah. Well, look, it looks like your plus one is here. Why don't you introduce who he is and tell us why you selected him and what your relationship is, and
absolutely.
let us know about him.
This is Patrick James. He is our new general manager, and I think he's going to bring a lot to our company. And really happy we have him aboard.
Welcome.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Thanks for having me aboard. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. So, where are you from?
Born and raised here in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Add that piece to Trenasse. We've got the influences of the deep South Louisiana and the influences from the Gulf Coast. I kind of round everything in with being a New Orleanian.
All right.
Yeah.
When where were you before you joined?
Well, I grew up in New Orleans.
But I mean, where were you working? What do you bring as far as work experience?
I used to run Palace Cafe. Used to be the GM at Palace Cafe, Redfish Grill, Chop House New Orleans.
Huh. Okay.
Most recently.
All right.
But the restaurants here in New Orleans, we've got quite a few here. So, trying to separate ourselves from everybody else, being a leader in our market, focusing on the seafood pieces and the origins of the Gulf Coast seafood with the Southern flair, South Louisiana flair, is the brand basically that we're building in the Intercontinental Hotel.
So how did you get involved in food? I mean, was that you've always been in the food
When
industry?
I was a kid, instead of hanging out with Dad working on cars, I was hanging out with Mom in the kitchen, and then that kind of progressed. Being in New Orleans, I don't know why everybody doesn't do what I do. I love music. I love food. I spent my early years with Emeril Lagasse before the cookbooks and the cooking shows. So we kind of had a fraternity of people that came from there, kind of rewriting our own rules. We didn't really have to follow a lot of conventional.
Now, how were you
rule
affiliated
books.
with Emeril?
I helped him open NOLA and the Fish House in Vegas.
Huh.
And I came from the original one on Chapatoulas and Camp.
Huh.
That was just my way of paying through graduate school. And then decided that when I got my first management position with Emeril, it was either sit in front of a computer working on numbers or have all this fun. So that's where my career kind of changed paths right there, midstream. And still use a lot of sitting in front of numbers, but spend most of my time out there with the guests. Great food. That experience.
So you bounced around a bunch of places, huh? I mean, have you stayed anywhere? Where was the longest that you stayed?
Mostly with Palace Cafe.
Okay, how long was that?
For about 5 years.
Okay.
Palace Cafe. I have not been in a little while, but they have the best white chocolate bread pudding.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I'm not a big dessert person, but that is just so divine. I just and
that's a lot for a particular bread pudding to stand out, because this town has such great.
Everybody thinks they
Everybody's
can
got a
do
bread pudding.
Everybody
Sure.
thinks they can do bread pudding,
Yeah,
but
so
I really
You've
feel
had
that
thousands and thousands of different bread puddings over the years in this town, so for that one to stand out, that means something.
well, yeah, to me it does. I mean, I remember it.
Well, and
Fun.
where I got lucky again with Trenasse is I was able to take a lot of that authentic style food. There's a lot of restaurants in New Orleans, like I mentioned earlier, but there's not a lot of bona fide food. There's not a lot of authentic food. Everybody's kind of copying each other, you know. And so the experience that I've got in Trenasse, where I've been lucky, is like my career. I've had the opportunity to come across that truly authentic flavor profiling creations and creating that within the brand. It's been very exciting. You know, I don't think I would have had this. I've been just extremely fortunate.
So how does that translate, like when you were in Vegas? How
Because everybody thinks authentic when they think Vegas. There's nothing fake about Vegas.
but I mean, how do you maintain the food is incredible. There's some incredible
Yeah,
places,
no.
but
I didn't say there wasn't, but, you know.
yeah. I know, but how do you feel that you could bring your culture and how do you introduce that in a environment like that?
Yeah, I mean, everything's a caricature in Vegas, right? Basically, right?
Right.
There's thousands of caricatures.
Well, that's what we did. We did that Southern hospitality piece, that focus on the local product, the seasonal product, surrounding ourselves with great culinary masters, that kind of thing. Trying to create a sense of, how do you translate this to the rest of the world, I guess. That's where we were successful. I know that there's other restaurants that have opened in Vegas that they'll train the leaders from Las Vegas instead of from where they came from.
Okay.
And possibly separating ourselves from other people as well in teaching that, whether it be in the service pieces or the creating the food, the masterpieces in the kitchen. And we did it from New Orleans. That's what we created. And so that's what separated us from other restaurants. Other restaurants were not successful that came from big cities like Chicago and New York and didn't translate well in Las Vegas because they hired Las Vegas people to open and do those pieces, those critical pieces.
And so now that's is that part of the reason why, like you're saying, you bring that to the restaurant and y'all have a lot of strong influences and obviously very qualified, wonderful people.
Exactly. Again, I was really very fortunate to surround myself with a really strong team of people that were able to pull off that New Orleans piece combined with that Gulf Coast piece. That all those pieces together really separate us from other people.
And being in a hotel, I mean, that I would imagine for some other people that could be challenging, but because you have experience.
Right. In our storefront location, we separate ourselves. There's a trend that started about a dozen years ago where hotels were focusing on restaurants that weren't hotel restaurants. They tried to build a brand within a brand. Okay, there's a lot of restaurants in town that do a really good job at it. Dominica and the Roosevelt, for example. Restaurant Revolution in the Royal Sonesta.
Yeah.
And the key here is that you create the brand separate from the hotel. Nothing wrong with the hotel. They have great resources, great assets. But focusing on our vision, which is specific to that, like I said, Gulf Coast seafood with a South Louisiana flair.
So who owns Trenasse? I mean, is it
Chef Jim Richard?
Okay, so it's not owned at all by the hotel.
No, sir.
Okay, that's interesting.
And so that's the key, and that's really part of the key, is not that the hotel couldn't do it. It's just making the food, the flavor profiles, that branding of the food and the service is separate from what the hotel does, but just out of circumstance. Where this is more of a creation of Chef Jim Richard, the service piece and the food piece. That's what's going to separate us from the city, plus, as well, much less the hotel.
So, I mean, in theory, the restaurant could move to another location and be separate from the hotel. There's nothing sort of intrinsic about the restaurant that ties it to the hotel other than you partnered together for the space.
You can charge food in the restaurant on the hotel. So the amenity that the hotel gets with that is by building and helping Trenasse be successful. This is going to help them sell their rooms and so forth.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, we've always been a city that welcomes people from out of town and that enjoy our food and lifestyle here. Right. So it's just making it a little more accessible to those people. So can guests get food in their room? I mean, do y'all?
No, that's more of the room service piece.
Okay, that's separate.
Yeah, so there's food and beverage that's separate from what Trenasse would do. But you can charge on the room itself.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, and you can go, to help them build. That's how they do their ratings. A lot of hotel ratings, they try to get a diamond or a star rating. In order to get that rating, they have to have that food and service piece, that food and beverage piece. So this helps the hotel on a number of different levels.
Okay.
So Jean Pierre, what was attractive to you about this vision that they developed that you came into sort of as they were about to open? What was it? What was it about?
What was attractive about?
Yeah.
Called Trenasse.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up going down Trenasses to go duck hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, the restaurant itself, the way it's designed, I mean, it was just meant to be.
This whole brand that he's been talking about, this is something that sort of matched what you wanted
the brand,
to be doing.
I mean, it's Gulf Coast cuisine with the southeastern Louisiana reach. I mean, it's rustic. It's what I believe in. It's part of who I am. I mean, just the name and Jim Richard's philosophies and everything they do and the way we build our team and the way we do day-to-day business is unlike any restaurant in the city.
Now, how did it differ from, now you worked in Lafayette and you were at Commander's, right?
Yes.
When you came back to town before you were here, how does it differ? How does the menu differ and your creative freedom differ here where you are now from where you were?
I guess it's a little more rustic in nature. I mean, our food is it's we don't have a tasting menu. We our gumbo is different than any gumbo in town. I mean, it's like really, really dark roux. I mean, it's super flavorful. I mean, it's just different conceptually altogether. I think ours is based on some of Jim's family and Brandon Janka's family, and so we have a Mimo's pressed sandwich, pressed crab poboy on the menu, and that's
Nice.
Brandon's grandmother's recipe, and then we have.
Wait, describe that a little bit.
It is
Slow
amazing.
down.
Yeah.
So Mimo's pressed poboy sandwich is so we sweat down onions and celery with a little garlic. We hit that with lemon juice, and we cool that down, and then we add claw crab meat to that, and then we take Ladenheimer's bread, mayo, cabbage, and some of the Mimo's spread, and we put American cheese on that, and we put it in a press, and we press it, and it is amazing. And a lot of the recipes in our restaurant are from.
If anybody listening to that does not get hungry from that, just stop listening to our show. Don't ever listen again.
Yeah, well,
you're not going to like us.
That's the
That's
one
amazing.
thing. I'd like to. I mean, I was asked, do you think your restaurant's fine dining? And I mean, we're casual fine dining, but I mean, the food we serve is just good. I mean, it's plain and simple. There's no fluff. It's the simple things done right, and that's always been my philosophy, and I wouldn't change a thing about it.
Sort of honest, authentic.
It's
what
food
you
from
see
the
is
heart.
what you get.
I mean, it's
not
nostalgia. It's
pretending to be something it isn't.
We're not taking any shortcuts. There's a lot of building of flavors. There's so many layers to the flavors. You see a lot of kitchens, for example, the crab meat, the crab bisque. A lot of the chefs in New Orleans will add bread pieces to the bisque to build thickness or consistency.
Right.
Ours goes through these like multiple steps that building the flavors. Most restaurants you'd see, they'll do maybe the first, say, half dozen steps to build the most basic essential flavors. Here, we're spending a lot of time, effort, and love to the simplest of flavors, and we're simply building it into it. You can almost see a story about Trenasse by just simply looking at the gumbo, tasting the gumbo, and then comparing it to what it looks like and tastes like in the rest of the city. The thinness and the darkness of the gumbo is more reminiscent of a place outside of New Orleans, okay? But our gumbo works here because that's the building of the layers and flavors, and it turns out that it happens to be a Lafayette style of gumbo, for example.
And that's, like you said, I'm just reiterating what you said, but to me, that's like how I grew up eating, and it didn't matter. You didn't. That's how people cook in their home. It's celebrating the ingredients, and you're with family, and it's time is not. It's not a. You don't rush things, and that's wonderful that y'all are putting that out, because it. I think that can get lost in a lot of places, understandably. But, you know, it's...
right, in our business, cutting corners and taking shortcuts sometimes is the difference between making money and not making money at all. So it makes sense why there's a lot of places that do it like that. It really does.
Yeah, but it's exciting y'all are
some
doing
of those
it.
things and taking shortcuts and trying to make something happen in a half an hour rather than an hour. Jim Richard's philosophy is, if you have to force it, it wasn't meant to be. So
Now, is he Cajun as well?
yeah, he's from Rain, Louisiana.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And he was in Florida, right? I mean, he
he's
has...
been all over, but he's been in Florida for quite some time. He was at Commanders for a while, but he's been around. He's opened quite a few restaurants, but now Stinky's is our mother flagship right now, and it's very good. So if you find yourself in Santa Rosa Beach, go eat.
And what do you think? I mean, maybe we'll have him on, so you don't have to speak for him. But what would you think? Why is he come back now at this time and wanted to collaborate and just?
I mean, I could tell you one thing, and it just seeing fresh Ladenheimer bread in his kitchen, which you can't get in Santa Rosa Beach. You know, it's you know. I think he just wants to leave his mark in New Orleans as well as I do. You know, he's just a very special man, and everybody, all the owners and all the talented, and I've never worked for anybody I'd ever want to work for again. I mean, he's just the way they do things, and they do things as a team, and I'm talking about everything as a team. And I mean,
What does that mean?
How
does that look?
It means that in some kitchens, you know, it's very individualized, and we're family. And I mean, you know, people say it all the time, but this is reality. This is who we are. We do everything together. The front of the house, and the back of the house. We are one family. It's not divided.
I mean, Christmas morning together, Thanksgiving meals together. What does that mean? Like we're family.
Absolutely.
Really?
Because we're wide open. That was our busiest 2 days this year.
Oh man, you don't get to go home for Christmas?
I was home.
Okay.
Aw.
And she came visit, so I made it essentially home. My girlfriend.
All right. Well, speaking of that, I want to know a little bit about y'all's. When you know the restaurant business is commanding, I'm sure, of your time, and both of y'all have families, significant others.
No, I have the best girlfriend in the world, though.
What makes her the best girlfriend in the world?
She's one in a million.
She
That's
Cajun too?
No, she is just very unique in ways that I don't know. She's got the biggest heart I've ever met. I mean, she's just a sweetheart.
She lives in New Orleans, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she understands the.
She deals with me.
All right, you can tell us the truth when she's not here. I'm just kidding.
Oh man, that was true.
What'd she do?
What does she do?
Yeah.
She's the event coordinator at Commander's Palace.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so she can relate to the lifestyle, and it wasn't a shock when you
No,
signed on.
That's
to
how we met. We met at Commander's Palace.
Okay.
I'm having deja vu. I remember she was here before, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and what about you? Do you have a time for a personal life?
Yes, I do. I have a beautiful son. He's 17 now, so he needs me less and less every day. But he's been involved in a lot of the projects that I've do. He's come to the kitchen with me before and works. making and coordinating those two things in with the world that we do, this worshiping in an altar that we do with the restaurant business is critical. So to make it work, we usually incorporate everything together.
All right.
And is he have any interest in the food industry?
He does, not as much as he thinks he does. I mean, he actually knows his way around the kitchen a lot easier than most 17-year-olds. He likes to eat like a 17-year-old, so that part's easy. But
I hope he eats better than my 15-year-old. My 15-year-old, just to aggravate me, eats, insists on fast food all the time.
Right?
And, chain restaurants.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Trying to work away from that, and so we work on a lot of techniques with. Look how easy this is to create to make a soup at home. We don't have to go to the Raising Cane's or Burger King or something. We can do this in our own kitchen.
Do they serve soup at Burger King?
We can do all this easy, and he's seen those techniques by working in some kitchens. So it's exciting.
Cool.
So hopefully he gets interested soon enough.
Well, I think it's time for our off-the-menu question. These are things that you wouldn't get on a regular job application for a fine dining experience like Trenasse. So let me ask you, Chef, if your uncle works for NASA and you find out that the meteor's hitting the world and it's all coming to an end tomorrow, and you got 3 meals left and it's your day off, where would you go in New Orleans? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and what would you get?
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner in New Orleans.
And it can't be your place.
Yeah.
Where you
I
are.
knew she was going to say that.
Yeah.
Breakfast, I would go to. These are tough questions. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Breakfast, I would probably go to Camellia Grill.
All right.
Yeah, Camellia Grill. And then for lunch, I'm a big fan of Houston's. I love it. I mean, consistency is hard to find, and they are very consistent.
Didn't see that coming. That shocked me. Okay, keep going.
Love it. Well,
Okay.
that's also nostalgia. My daddy used to take me when I grew up.
All right.
And then outside of that, wish you had briefed me on this one. I'd probably go to Herb Saint.
All
I
right.
like it a lot.
All
Cool.
right.
What would you get? You got a favorite dish there or anything?
I like the carbonara.
All
with
right.
a deep fried poached egg.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
All right.
All right. You have to answer the same question because I was prepared to ask Chef a
I
question.
cut
so-
Margot off. Okay.
No, that's
Sure.
all right. So what would be your three?
Well, breakfast would either be local farmers market. I go grab whatever they got and make something with it. Probably bread and vegetables and make a breakfast out of it. An easier route would be La Peniche, I suppose, in the Marigny. For lunch, I'd go to the butcher.
Nice.
And
Push
get
on
a
butcher.
nice big old corned beef something, whatever they call it there. And then
Get 2. You're gonna die tomorrow.
Exactly. And then dinner, I really like Giacomo's a lot, but I
All
mean,
right.
Gautro's when I want to spoil myself.
Yeah. All right. Nice.
Okay.
I'm sensing the chef wants to revise his answer. We had him under the gun. He's got.
I should have asked him.
His buddy that works at wherever is going to be on his case now. Like, what? You had a chance to give me a plug and you didn't.
Well, I want to know. Have you ever worked in a kitchen?
Yes, I love the kitchen. As a matter of fact, what makes it really interesting about Trenasse and this connection that we were talking about, being on the same page, is that I see a lot of what Chef Jim and Chef Jean are talking about, but I don't think it's necessarily as focused. It's a chef-driven concept. So what works really well is that because I'm now part of this chef-driven concept, that I'm already there. I already see the ingredients. I already see the sort of 3D expo that's going on with the food before it comes out to the dining room. but I love the whole stock preparation, the prep and paste piece, really seeing the ingredients. Where do they come from? I want to know why we have them, to what degree we cook with them, and you see that building of layers of flavor that I was talking about. One of the first things I noticed when I got to work in the kitchen and got my job was seeing this building of layers of flavor. So it wasn't just these basic ingredients that anybody can work with. It was the way they built these layers of flavors that I saw. And that process by which you're building it, I don't think is easy for the naked eye to see. And so I love being in the kitchen, spend a lot of time in the kitchen. But that's what the experts are here for.
Yeah.
That's why they're here.
Have you ever worked in a kitchen yourself? I mean, prior to this, was that part of coming up in?
Yeah, more of as a development piece, and at the same time, training those management skills that say you don't really get in a lot of the cooking schools. The cooking school shows you how to make really great food and focus on things like food cost and how to make it really pretty. But the management skills as far as how to deal with people and how to work with people. And the way I trade it off is spend a season or two working on different departments. For example, I learned how to butcher rabbits one summer in a kitchen. And so it's not just a matter of just here's a knife and here's a rabbit. Like I needed a butcher to really show me how to do it, and I watched him do it. So a lot of my education didn't come from formal CIA training like Chef Jean here. It's been more from just working in the kitchens itself.
Now, do y'all, so you, Chef, you've had a lot of mentors. Is that important to you? I mean, do you find, I know you said y'all are a family, but do you find inspiration in teaching other people and having that kind of, influence? Do you enjoy that, or you're just doing what you do?
I mean, it's the job of a chef. I mean, you are a teacher. I mean, it's everything you do. You teach. I mean, the main focus of a chef is constantly fixing things and training and taking these people and trying to take them to the next level and give them everything you have. And the way I was given those things was a little more harsh. In French kitchens, it was pretty tough and really mental. It was challenging. And now working with the new group, Word of Mouth group, it's just a completely new philosophy that makes sense. I mean, it's just like, we work, 65, 70 hours a week. I mean, if you do that and you're being constantly screamed at, or which in a lot of kitchens, that's how it works, or if you're actually nurtured and given the proper information to be successful, that's the difference. But, you also have to have people who care and want to learn. But, yeah, being a teacher and, just like working with these kids, I have these, 22 and 27-year-old sous chefs, 2 younger ones. And, just to see how talented they are and the respect they have for me, and they just met me, it's just really, really rewarding for me. But we have a very, very special team, and we're going stronger by the day.
Now, Chef, a couple of weird questions for you. One is we had a Cajun raised chef on here a few weeks ago, and he shocked us with the kind of like he said growing up, he ate lots of roadkill and lots of, squirrels and, stuff like that. Did you ever eat any weird?
Whoa. Hold on. He didn't say he ate roadkill.
He kind of said he ate roadkill, didn't he?
Well, roadkill could be an alligator ran over, and yes.
All right, anyway, okay. Well, we won't debate this right now. Let me shift.
Sorry. I just
odd animals that we normally don't eat, that normally aren't available in menus. Is there anything?
I thought you meant
did you grow up with any like?
No. Never ate a Nutria in my life.
That's what
I'm hearing.
No, never. Okay.
No.
So there's not okay. So my question's void then. I was going to ask you: is there an animal that you ate growing up that you really just can't serve here? Isn't available to you here? Anything like that? Maybe there's a fish equivalent of that.
No, because again, the people I ate, we threw drum back. We didn't eat sheep's head. You know what I mean? And we serve it, and people love it, and it actually tastes good. But, I didn't know that until I got here to New Orleans. Because even the poorest of the poor threw that back.
Yeah, well, that's what I heard. I heard drum used to be like that in New Orleans 20 years ago.
It
was trash fish, and now it's become more of a high-end thing.
The question you ask, everybody was a chef where I grew up, and
All right.
I mean they were good. I mean some of my friends.
Look, I didn't mean that as an insult. I mean, I'm
not
sure,
at all.
I'm sure squirrel in the
People
hands
do
of
eat.
Cajun is way better than steak in the hands of guys in Jersey. I guarantee it. You know?
Well, I know people who have had Nutra and said it's good. I mean, but back home, I never heard one person eat
Okay,
Nutra.
that's just I was interested in that. And then the other thing I wanted to ask is there anything that people order a lot in the restaurant? Sort of a favorite that you just don't really, a dish that maybe is not your favorite, but is a customer favorite, something that you wish people ordered a little less of, you get sick of making. There's nothing on the menu right now. You don't keep anything on the menu that you don't pretty much like cooking or enjoy eating?
We collaborate all of our menus, so that
Okay.
I don't have that. We make those choices as a team.
Okay.
But no, I love everything we have on the menu. I mean, are there certain things that I have a different opinion on? Right. Yeah. But I mean, there's nothing on our menu that I think shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I just remember what was the dish in Trenasse? Do you remember? You ever watched the show Trenasse? There was a dish that she had that became the signature dish of the restaurant she was cooking at. It drove her crazy because she hated it.
I remember that. I don't remember.
I can't remember what it is now. I would have known 6 months ago.
Hilarious.
It's fading now.
Well, we did have some. What was it? Some pig cheeks this
Pork
afternoon.
cheeks.
Some
That's
pork
delicious.
cheeks.
Yeah.
And people thought that was a little strange, and then of course they tasted it and they thought it was a great dish. But at first it comes off as really
Delicious.
but they're so good.
I don't know what sounds bad about that. Pork and cheeks. They both sound great to me.
Doesn't sound. It is.
Only thing better than pork and cheeks or pork cheeks. Yeah. Can you fry them? That sounds even better.
Yeah. You can.
All right, I think we're almost out of time, Marty. You got
Yes.
one more?
Well, I would like them to tell our listeners of the location, the hours, and and anything that you want to add, that
Sure.
we didn't address. or-
444 St. Charles Avenue, storefront for the Intercontinental Hotel. Great location for Mardi Gras coming up. Little refuge of sorts because it's so close to the parade route. We've got a great Valentine's Day menu coming. The 14th, 5-course meal for $60.
All right.
We've got some sea scallops, some truffled potato and leek soup, Belgian endive salad. We've got a Louisiana Legacy filet mignon dish, and a brown butter stuffed Nutella crepes as well. A little
Stuffed
combination
Nutella
of
crepes,
yeah,
nice.
a little bit of
Sounds
everything.
romantic.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. The food's extremely sexy. So Valentine's Day, sexy food, you really can't miss.
And what are y'all's hours?
We've got 10:30 to 3 for lunch, 4 to 11 for dinner. Our bar stays open till midnight. That's 7 days a week. Coming into Mardi Gras, we've got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We're going to open at 8 a.m.
Wow.
to do an early brunch menu for those 4 or 5 days going into Mardi Gras.
That's good to know because sometimes it's hard to get a great meal.
Yeah.
And I love that y'all stay open till 3 because I like to eat lunch late, and it's hard in this city
Exactly.
to make it where you want to make
And
it.
we've got a great happy hour menu that you can have in between lunch and dinner.
Okay.
Great happy hour prices for food and for beverage. But Mardi Gras is going to be exciting. We've got a special tent that we're doing right outside the restaurant that we're going to be serving really tasty dishes like we've got some red beans and rice. We've got some jambalaya that's going out. We've got a mock shoe that we're doing over grits that's going to be fantastic. Really quick, warm, scoop and serve type. Come up and grab a bowl, grab a beer, and then head out to the parade route.
Excellent.
That's so smart.
You
There's
can't
some
beat it.
restaurants that really capitalize on that. I remember Superior Seafood had some stuff like that last year. Then there's other places. I went up to another place will remain nameless. It's gone now. Went up there and they were all they wanted to serve was like $24 dishes. They had to come in and sit down, and it's like no. I mean we're here for a parade. I don't want to miss the parade. What are you
Right.
doing?
But
And
I
then-
still have I want good food.
I want
and-
good food, but I want it a little faster. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be something. So it sounds like you guys have found a way to
Yeah,
do
and
that.
we're
That's
on.
great.
We're literally on the parade.
Oh
route.
yeah, every parade pretty much is going to go right to
But
Lee
we're
Circle,
right off of the route, so there's a nice, easy, comfortable
Yeah.
space to come up and greet the restaurant, and then head back out to the parade, and that's you just turn around and you're there.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Well, our special guest tonight on Midnight Menu Plus One was Chef Jean Pierre Guidry, and his plus one was Patrick James. You can find out more about Trenasse by following the links on our website, itsneworleans.com.
And thanks tonight to Petite Pet Care for loving care when you're out at the parade routes eating at Trenasse. Call them up, petitepetcare.com.
And thanks also to our host, NOLA Brewing. Well, that's it for tonight's show. We'll see you next time on Midnight Menu Plus One. Till then, I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss.
Good night.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green potting mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii, U.S. only.